I will now run through a little bit of a conversation in regards to apertures, ISOs, and the other thing called shutter speeds. One of the biggest things that I've encountered throughout my days of teaching is that people kind of like to shoot in manual, and I think that's a really cool thing. Sometimes it can catch you out where you can be a little bit caught off guard because you're not necessarily right with the setting, and just getting a full understanding of how this exposure triangle just will help towards getting your better shots. So what we see on the screen is the infamous dial that we have on most of our mirrorless DSLR and enthusiast cameras. An enthusiast camera is a camera that the lenses don't come off, but you can still play with the apertures, shutters, and the ISO. So a lot of new people will go straight to auto, and that's a great thing, because one thing about auto is that it kind of shoots everything for you. That lets you then focus, bit of play on words there, lets you focus on composition. Because composition is not something that is settings orientated, it's visually orientated. So there are times when you just want to think about the the composition and let the camera work out the exposure, especially if the lighting is actually quite good. So for those automatic people, we've got the running man, the portrait mode, the night mode, the landscape mode, and the macro mode. And they're actually all programs the camera for sports photography or for portrait photography, night, etc. So they're great settings for newbies, and again, it puts you into a category that you can focus on the composition and let the camera start to pick the right settings for those type of shots. P for program is another automatic style where the camera chooses the aperture and the shutter for you, but being able to play with some extra settings such as ISO and exposure. Aperture is a semi-automatic setting where you actually to focus on using depth of field as part of your photography creativity. Boy, there are people coming in, so welcome to the show, folks. We're just getting in there. S stands for shutter, but if you're a Canon person, that's TV. So it's another semi-automatic mode where it actually allows you to then focus on shooting with the shutter speed and letting the camera choose the aperture. And then we have the infamous M for the master setting. The aperture, the shutter, and the ISO, the triangle where you start putting in numbers, but not just random numbers. You just got to kind of know what you want to get out of your shot. Our slide here talks about the three actual settings, the three settings of aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. You will see we have numbers, f1.4, f2, that's the aperture numbers. Then we've got the shutter speeds, 1000, 1500, and further down. And then we have the ISO, which is about the lighting that you're in. So what do you want to get out of your shot when we talk about the aperture? What do we want to have in focus? Do we want to have part of in focus and some stuff out of focus? Or do we want to have everything in focus? And that's where the aperture plays a very big part of this. So knowing the aperture number for the setting, for the shot you want to shoot, is really the key to understanding apertures. You will see that with the apertures, when you have a lower number, the aperture hole of the lens is larger. So that's going to let in a lot more light than if you're shooting at f32, for example. The next type of thing that we're going to be looking at is your shutter speeds. From fast shutter speeds, where we want to freeze the action, to slow shutter speeds, where we want to get that milky kind of soft look out of a waterfall. And then knowing what setting, what shutter speed to be able to use that is really the key to this shutter adjustment. And there's a number of shutter speeds there to choose from. And then finally, we have the ISO. In the days of film, well, it was the film. The ISO, or the ASA, what used to be known as ASA for American Standards Association or Australian Standards Association. Today, ISO stands for the International Standards Organization, which, if you want to know exactly who those people are, Google will help you. But what we know is that the lower the ISO, the cleaner and the more crisper your images are. And the higher the ISO, our images become a bit grainier or a little bit more noisier. whether we're shooting in pure bright daylight or in much darker areas. This is where ISO plays the game. And this whole ISO aperture and shutter speed triangle can be a little bit confusing when you're trying to learn how they all interact with each other. So when we look at our cameras, for example, and we see that we have our shutter speeds and our aperture and our ISO, the exposure meter that you can see that I'm highlighting here. The exposure meter is the part of the camera that's actually reading the light to giving you an idea of what light you're shooting in. And you'll see that there's negative and there's positive, and that's all, you know, negative and positive, darker pictures and brighter pictures. So using your combination of ISO, aperture and shutter, what we're trying to do is to get that needle in the middle. Okay, getting that needle in the middle basically tells us that we're going to be shooting at least with good light. So this is a light meter. This is what we have built into our camera. Some of you might have seen one of these from a long time ago, or maybe even used one. And so the whole key to this light meter is two things. The ASA. This is the part of the meter where we actually have to tell the light meter what film we're using, because then it will tell us what combination of apertures and shutters we should choose for the light that we're in. And this area down here, we've got two needles. This black part of the needle here is actually the light meter that will go up and down dependent on the light. So the darker it is, it'll be on one end, and the lighter it is, it'll be on the other end. And then with this outside dial here, we would get this red needle here and sit it on top of that needle. Then what we see is this. So here we see that we've got a 400 ISO film. You will also notice that in film days, it was called also DIN, which is a European talk. And then we have our green marker on top of the red needle. So then all we have to do is actually look at our numbers here. You'll see, for example, there's f8. So if you want to shoot at f8, you've got a shutter speed of around 3/20th of a second, just in the middle there. If you want to close the aperture for more landscape photography, then we've got, say, f16, for example, and you'll see that the shutter speed needs to be kept open for a bit longer. But if we open the aperture to a lower number, say an f4, we can now start shooting at around 1,000, say 1/1600th of a second, just based on that. And that's based on this 400 ISO. As we change our film speed, these numbers also change. You'll see here that this is my latest Mustang that I bought. It was a very good price. It's a 1966 blue Mustang, $10. It was the greatest thing that I bought just recently. Anyway, what you'll see here is that this little box and this little area in the middle here is reading the light off the car itself. And so what I've set here is 200 ISO. I've chosen an F number, or an aperture of the lens, of 2.8, which then gives me a shutter speed of 320. Okay, so if I now change this aperture to a bigger number, which means I'm going to let less light in, to say, for example, 5.6, then the shutter speed now has to stay open for longer at 1/80th of a second. And we have ISO 200 still as our constant. If I want to go towards a bigger F number, and bigger F numbers might be to give us more depth of field, more things in focus on the shot. I go to F8, for example, I'm now letting in less light, and we have to keep open for 1/30th of a second. If I keep going up to a higher F number, and say, let's go to F11, for example, you'll see again, the shutter speed needs to let in more light. And we're down to 1/15th of a second. But that might not be what's suitable for us. We might actually need a faster shutter speed. So by changing the ISO to 400, we're now making the camera more sensitive to light, or in the days of film, we're using a faster film. And you can see that our shutter speed has gone up. If we continue to pick a higher ISO, if we go to, say, 800, you'll now see that we get a faster shutter speed again of 1/60th. 1250, and don't forget that as we are turning up the ISO, our pictures are gradually getting noisier. And I'm back. Actually, I can't believe that my light's gone out. I can't believe my light's gone out. So I'm just going to quickly just change this because I obviously been running it. Welcome to the show. I hope you've all been well over the last few days. Karen, have you been taking photos today?
No, not today.
How are you today, Craig? Have you been taking photos?
No, processing.
You're in the editing mode. Don't we love doing that mode? Yes, that's part. So, Craig, a dear friend of mine from many years ago, we've done a few workshops together, and currently, and an amazing wedding photographer as well. But at the moment, weddings are kind of a little bit off the chart at the moment. So I guess you can catch up on all your editing. Hey.
That's it.
And now I have my light here, so I'm back. Hello, David. Have you been taking photos today?
No, mate. I've been out all day today with the SES cutting trees down.
Cutting trees down, making sure that we don't have issues like we had in November, December. Yes, maybe? Yes.
Yeah, very busy day.
Well, thank you for that, for helping out our state. And Jeff, still waiting for the check.
Hey, Craig. Really?
How you going?
Yeah, but that's okay. Oh yes, Karen, you put your hand up. Is that from before, or is that the fact that?
Yeah, because you said try it out, so I tried.
That's right. Okay, so this is the thing, guys. Now you might or might not be aware, but Zoom has a great little thing where I guess, David, if you're on your phone, you touch the screen, and there's a little thing where you can put your hand up. Now, I highlight this for people because if I mute you because I'm talking about something, yes, Jeff, you've done a lot. You've done a thumbs up. So you're just saying, thanks, mate, which means I thank you extensively for that. But if you want to actually say something, because I can't hear you, that's where the little hand goes up. So are you aware of that, Craig?
No.
You're not? Well, are you on your computer?
I am.
I think it's under participants is where
it is, and then it comes up in the bottom.
On the computer, yeah. So
it says reactions. You'll see where it says reactions at the bottom.
Yeah.
Right.
You just click on reactions.
Yeah, you've obviously found it, David, so that's very good. So fantastic. And there's a clap. You can also clap as well. So Craig.
Yes.
A wedding editing, is that what you're doing at the moment?
It is.
So was this the last wedding that you did just before we all got closed down?
Yeah, the close down happened, I forget the date, but at midnight on whatever date that was.
Right.
And so they called me on the morning of the day and said, could you come now? So, yeah, because they had 200 guests and it went down to 10.
I know, Jeff, that you guys, Jeff is a dear friend of mine as well from a long time ago. I mean, Craig and I, actually, I think I'm the youngest looking out of the three of us. I'll just throw, and I can say that because this is my show, and I'll cry if I want to.
I just have bad light.
Well, you know, it's all about the lighting and the microphones, right? So Jeff is the. I forgot. In my mind, I know what you are, but I kind of can't say it properly. So, Castle Hill, RSL Photo Club.
Yep, I'm the lecture organizer, so I organise the lecturers and presenters for the club.
And very kindly invited me to go and have a chat there, and it was a big thing because we said, yeah, okay, well, we'll do it on whatever that date was, and then. I thought, oh, good, I'm going to have dinner and I'm going to go to Castle Hill RSL Club and play the pokies because, well, why not? And then COVID happened. And then all of a sudden it's like, can we try and run this on Zoom? And I went, oh, okay, I keep hearing about this Zoom. Let's give it a go. And so we had about 70-ish.
75. I think actually it actually peaked at about 78.
Wow.
78 members during the night, and the feedback from the meeting was completely positive.
And look, I guess the thing is, I've got more things to talk about, so I can come back. Yeah. Can I just throw out to all those people on Facebook, because I do actually see a little message out here saying, hi, Joe. It's www.smarterdigital.com.au/livestream. Come in and join the Zoom room. David. Now, David he's a new Olympus user. He's got an Oppo phone, right? Which Karen's got an Oppo phone as well. And I spoke to somebody today who said, yeah, I got one of those Oppos as well. Wow, they're not bad little phones for a phone. I mean, David, how long have you had yours?
Bought it over in New Zealand. I've got the R11. So
Which one have you got, Karen?
I11, I think. I've had Oppo phones for probably 8 years now when they started coming out, and I loved them.
Yeah, yeah. Look, they've got a great reputation for their cameras. They're really mega cheap. I mean, they're like under $500, $600 tops. You know, for us iPhone people, because I know that Craig and Jeff are an iPhone person.
Yep.
You know, you kind of think, wow, if I had to buy the phone, I got to like, you know, sell a lens. And spend $2,000 on a bloody. Oh, you've got the new one. You just couldn't help.
Yeah,
it.
with the
Good
3
job.
lenses.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for my lease to run out. They don't lease phones anymore. So, have you used your iPhone much? Have you? What's your kind of thoughts on it?
Actually, to be honest, no, I haven't. I've been going between the 5D and the D90. So
Right,
the D90,
okay.
I've been using your 50mm 1.2 lens on that.
Sorry. Can you just repeat that again? You were using my 50mm 1.2 lens. Oh, well, that's nice. I didn't
It's a
realize.
nice lens, Joe. You should practice with it.
Yeah, yeah. Look, I had someone give it to me years ago, and
Yeah.
then they were an Indian giver. They wanted it back, so I was just
Yeah,
like, oh, bugger. So
With that camera, with that lens, sorry, the aperture at 1.2, it is actually that sharp
yeah,
that it's hard to use. You know, you can literally take it, you know, as a portrait lens, and you know, you try and focus on the nose, but the eyes are out of focus.
yeah. So
That's
it's
actually,
a 50mm 1.2.
Yeah, that's the one.
What we're looking at. So wow, okay. I didn't realize it was at that figure. Last time I saw it, it was like $25. So, but now it's
Wow.
well, you might want to keep it, mate. So, so.
Oh, I might want to sell it. Well, you know,
No,
all that
but it's a
has
beautiful
to-
piece of glass inside.
It is.
I mean, and Craig, have you got something like that? Have you got some big
No.
ass 1.2-ish, 1 point something like that?
1.4 would be mine.
Right. So a Nikon as well.
Yes.
Yeah, because you're a Nikon user as well. If I ever scramble this back off the owner, we'll get together and we'll kind of we can do a shoot. Actually, I did actually. You know where I did use it once. I have a client that Craig knows. Her name is Lee McRitchie, and Lee McRitchie wanted me to do a video of her for MCA.
Yeah, contemporary art. Yeah.
Yeah. So she was applying for a job. So I thought, oh, I've got this 50mm 1.2. I've been reading so much about it. I'll put it onto the camera. Oh my God, I videoed with it and it was beautiful. It was absolutely just beautiful. Karen has she's got a mega cool lens, which is one of the Sigma series. And we know the Sigma lenses.
One.
Looks like a beast.
It's a beast. It's a beast. I'm going to spotlight the video. There she is. Look at that. Look at that little beast. Okay, then.
Wow.
But are you ready
Wow.
for the specs? Are you ready for the specs? So 50 to 100, 1.8. Yes, 50 to 100. So it's equivalent to like a 75 to 150, 1.8. Oh my God. We all know the hoods always make it look good too, but show me that.
You put the hood on.
That's it.
Just
We
like-
want to see that front. Oh yes, look at that.
Wow, God, that's pretty. What's the weight like on that?
I think it's probably 1.2. I think it's heavy, but it's great lens. I love shooting with it.
It's balancing, you know. So why do you have a lens like this, Karen? Just tell our friends here at smarterdigital.com.au/live stream, folks.
Oh well, I just wanted something where I could get really nice close-ups if I needed to, and fast and low lighting.
So Karen does a lot of low light music photography. So that was one of the biggest things. Jeff.
Yep.
So tell me about Castle Hill Photographic Club. What's the deal? How can you join? Tell us a little bit about it. Like,
Well, we've got close to 300 financial members there, with a range of different special interest groups. So there's a special interest group for those who love drones. There's an interest group for those who like portraits, landscape, video, etc., etc. Anyone can join. In fact, we've got members who now live overseas that have just rejoined. Our furthest member is actually in Iceland.
wow. Okay.
So he takes a lot of images from that region and then sends them over. and
Right.
enters them in the digital competition. So he still participates even from Iceland. And now with Zoom,
Yes.
Zoom, due to the current situation,
Sure.
is actually helping us a lot because not only am I getting lecturers from the local area, but I'm now organised lecturers from all over Australia.
How long has the club been in existence? Do you know?
I think since the 80s,
Yeah. Right. Okay.
around then. So it's been around for quite a while.
But what's the cost to join a club nowadays? What's
It's only, I think we've only just put the fees up, and I think it's now $80 a year. You can join the portrait group, and there's the coordinator of that group organises different shoots with different subjects, and we get models in. Everyone throws in 10 to 15, sometimes $20. We pay the model on the night.
right?
They bring in makeup artists. There's quite a few
Right.
of
Right.
the members that have full lighting kits. They then bring in costume designers,
Right.
and it
Okay.
turns out quite nice.
David, did you have a question?
Yeah, I'm in the Ulladulla Milton Camera Club. Our fees are $30 a year,
Right. Okay.
and we don't have all that gear. Well,
We're part of the Castle Hill RSL Club, so we
Yeah.
hire rooms. We get 12 rooms a year at no cost, and then we hire other rooms at cost after that.
Oh, right. To do
Right.
the work, to do workshops and stuff.
Yeah, to do workshops. So,
Right.
and
Oh, I
then
see.
And then every first Tuesday of the month, we have a lecture. Every
Right.
second Tuesday of the month, we have a presentation or an activities presentation.
Right.
And then every fourth Tuesday of the month, we have our competition night. We do digital, print media, set subject, and open. And we invite different judges to come and judge the images. That goes towards a point system at the end of the year. This year we gave away to our winners. There were $9,000 worth of prizes,
Wow.
including 3 Epson printers that were valued at I think they're $1,500 each.
Wow. Okay.
So you're getting some pretty good feedback, and you're getting the opportunity to win some pretty awesome prizes.
I mean, I could see
Yeah.
Epsom would love to give away printers because the ink that you're going to go through and make them very, very happy with selling.
Yeah.
But, ink is like the most.
I know.
I remember years ago, it was like $400 a droplet or something.
Yeah. So these are, 8 cartridge printers. And we're getting,
okay,
we're going from A3 to A1 size printers.
Wow.
So they're not just your average printer. These are big units. These
Yeah,
are really big
so,
units.
so the ink cost alone's about $1,000.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. That's why we've actually got one in the club that we don't use for that reason.
So, David, how long have you been with your club?
just over a year, and don't ask me how many photos I've put in. Zilch.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay. Yes, there was a donut, but that's okay.
Kim has,
Why haven't you though?
because I've been busy with the SES, and by
Oh,
the time I
okay.
do training with that, then Kim goes, "You're just slack, though. You're slack."
Karen, have you put any of your photos into anything? Have you put any towards any competitions or
No,
such?
no.
No. I mean, you've got so Karen also, apart from music photography, does some amazing underwater photography with GX cameras. So the little Canon GX larger sensor cameras, beautiful cameras, amazing images floating under the water. Craig, you've put stuff into into competitions, though, I'm sure.
Yeah, a couple.
A couple.
Yeah,
And why do you put it with such hesitancy?
because honestly, for me, I one of the competitions I entered, I was disappointed at what was said, and I felt that what they interpreted had little to do with the reason why I actually took the photos. And so I felt that I do it for my own
Yes.
pleasure, and I didn't feel necessarily that it was appreciated by others the same way. So I didn't
It's
do it.
funny you're saying that, because there in scuba diving, there's a lot of underwater photography competition, all right? And I know some people that participated, and I've seen the photos, and they're cropped to a certain way, and I don't know what they're doing. And then they're saying, oh, to even be considered, they need to be cropped in a certain way and this and that.
Correct.
And
Yes.
if you ask me, it ruined the photo totally. And I thought, why the hell do you enter competition if they have things like that on? No.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Well, that's certainly interesting feedback there, Jeff. I mean, I know that myself, I've been asked to do a couple of judgings, and it's a hard gig to do judgings. And also my own photography. I mean, what do I like is not necessarily what somebody else is going to like. And I think that's the hardest one that I try and get across straight away to people, is to kind of go, hey, look, you know, guys, you know, my photography style is going to be different to a lot of people's style, and I always put it towards the music world. And who likes heavy metal music? You know, especially to a bunch of 70-year-old people, it doesn't always. You don't get many hands up, right? Or you know, who likes classical music? Who likes jazz music? And I guess what I look for in a judging mode is composition, some kind of technique, and some kind of telling me a story. So it is a hard one for a judge. And I don't know, Jeff, I mean, is that something, do you find that the judges struggle with it, or is it just me?
No, look, I think a lot of the times the judges will come out with a lot of technical, you know, they look at the images very technically. So they don't look at through the photographer's eyes, but more through a technical point of view.
Right.
So, you know, I know when you take an image, you're trying to, you know, convey a story or show a particular thing, but the judges will look at things like, you know, pixel size, image size, print size, and you constrain to that. Like you were saying, Karen, you know, you have to stay within a certain size. You can't print to a size that, you know, you've taken the photo and developed the photo to be. So you then have to reduce, crop, you know, do whatever you have to do to get within the judged sizes.
Not only that, sometimes you actually crop things out that improve the photo, the composition,
that's right.
and it's just gone.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And they tend to be very critical as far as technique goes. And they don't really, a lot of the time, they don't really look at the artistic value of the photo itself.
Correct.
So, and that's where, you know, that's where judging becomes controversial, so to speak.
Can I just ask, is it maybe a little bit like you can't do, so you're judged, like you can't do the job you teach, you know, you can't be...
What do they say?
Like that?
Yeah, those that do, and those that don't, that can't teach.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that saying. Yeah. Now, look, I think, you know, judges have got a lot of experience in judging and in photography from a technical point of view.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of them lack the empathy of the photographer and they lack the empathy of the photograph.
I'm a bit shocked and surprised that people are talking about pixeling in a world like that. I mean, we're talking about an artistic vision. I mean, if it was taken with a film camera, how do you then get into that? I mean, it's about the light, it's about the situation, it's about distractions, or it's about, you know, what you're trying to convey. David, have you been to any of the judgings from your club at all?
Yeah, we've had a few judges, and they've been. I've got a couple of photos I'm going to whack in when it all goes back to normal. Right. We've had judges from Mogo Zoo. There's a lady, don't ask for her name.
Okay.
I'll just call her Frank. Frank turned up.
Okay, yep.
And that's all she does is animals.
Yeah,
and
right.
She goes, you know, I'd go to the zoo, and she said, always focus on the eye.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
When we used to go to the PMA, there was the what do you call it? The judgings of the AIPP or ACP.
Yes.
And you know, you kind of see all these guys there that would be like, you know, hanging around a photo, and they kind of go up to it, and they've got a light, and they're kind of looking at it from angles like this, and then they kind of sit back and they have a little bit of a chat, and everybody's around, and they kind of, you know, they're all talking to themselves, and I just think, wow, that's a a big theatre thing for this photo, you know, and I would kind of go up to her and go, yep, I like it. Or, yeah, not my kind of thing, not my cup of tea. There we
Nice.
go.
You need to turn your TV off in the background.
No, I think
Hang
that's
on.
the screen, isn't it? Isn't it?
No,
us?
it's the TV.
It's the
the
TV.
light.
Oh, multitasking. I like that. Listening to Joe, watching TV, texting, the whole bit. We all did. That's a
No,
nice
that was
shot.
nice.
So where did you get? So where did you get it printed? First of all, I've got to ask where you got printed because I always ask.
I got that printed at Burr in St Mary's, a store called, I think it was called Burwood Printing.
Okay, it was a
I-
store,
I-
right?
I put it in a frame and I took it because I was in another camera club, the Henry Lawson Camera Club
The
and I
Henry
said-
Lawson Camera Club. That sounds
Yeah.
interesting.
at Warrington.
Oh, right.
And then I thought I'll put it in a frame.
Yeah.
And when I took it there and I put it up there, and the judge went, right, who owns this photo in the frame? And I said, me. He said, great photo. I'm going to put it there. But he said, I can't judge it. And he said, the reason why is because I was judging a photograph once before and I picked up a frame. It was in glass. It slipped out of my hand. It fell down. It cut my foot. He said, I can't judge it, you know. So
Hey.
I went, okay. So
Well, so what's the situation with the way you set up at Castle Hill when you do a judging night? Are they framed? Are they mat boarded? What's the,
They're always going to be mat boarded, so in mats,
yeah.
but definitely no frame.
right? So that's just part of something that is part of the rules. That yeah.
That's part of the rules. So they have to be 1920 max wide by
Yeah,
1200.
A4.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So an A4 size. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, are you printing do you print many of your shots, Karen, at all? I mean, is that something that you have?
Yeah, I print. I'm actually about to create a whole wall in my unit with frames and things.
And here we have.
yeah.
Oh, right, Karen. That's a cool one. Look at. Oh, yeah. Right.
That's Pat.
That's Pat. Yeah. That's,
They're all going up.
so do you know Pat? Craig, you're a muso.
Pat Powell.
Sorry, Pat who?
Pat Powell.
Pat Powell. Pat
Yeah,
Powell.
I've heard the name.
Yeah. Oh, there's some cool shots.
So-
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Nice.
wow. God, that's
Yeah, I know.
nice.
That's cool, huh? Yeah, that's you know,
Really cool.
I love his hair. Isn't his hair just great?
Nice.
Yeah.
The lighting's brilliant, isn't it? The lighting's really nice on that.
Yeah.
I
Look, you
love the way it's highlighted the hair and his beard, bits of the microphone,
yeah, and
even the lighting off his jacket,
It's-
and
it's
then the
beautiful.
darkness, the negative light there around the neck and behind the head.
yes, yeah, it shows a shape, doesn't it?
The black leather jacket and everything that just was really blending in. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's and actually that we were talking about the other night, and Craig, you'll vouch for it. Red LED lighting at gigs.
No.
Isn't that beautiful lighting? Isn't it just like? And what's our other favorite color? Oh,
Yeah.
Blue.
oh, I think it's the blue. Yeah, the blue's pretty kind of.
Well, blue can be okay, but
okay. But the red is.
Oh, I find blue can look cool.
yeah,
Can look cool depending on how.
blue and
Yeah.
green,
Green.
red and
No, green, no.
yellow might work, but
Yeah, I don't know about
Just
green.
green?
Green.
Green. They look like Kermit. No.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking green just doesn't. I don't know,
No.
green strike.
Green and red. Get rid of it.
Get rid of it. Yes. So.
but in combination with other lights, it can be
Yes,
actually really nice.
okay, but not
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, and I think actually, as far as that stuff, it's also having a white light. I don't mind the backgrounds, but having the face with white light, just kind of, and then all the other colours behind it.
Do you know a woman named Julie Fox?
Yes, I do.
Rings
You
a
know her. Yeah, she's in our camera club. She does all the photography for Milton Theatre at night time. Or any performer comes, you'll see Julie sitting on the side, and
She's a
there
nice lady.
Very nice lady. Very nice.
and she's part of your club, yeah.
Yeah, Julie Fox. Yeah, she's
But-
very good photos.